Hello and welcome to Channel Hope Podcast, where we share stories each fortnight to inspire and help people channel hope through life's challenges. I'm your host, Rata Campbell. In this episode, I speak with Cath Healey, General Manager of Te Rangihaeata Oranga, a kaupapa Māori organisation helping people with gambling addictions. We discuss the impact of gambling harm on whānau, communities, and how counselling addresses the wider health, well-being, and socioeconomic issues that often come with gambling addiction. Cath shares her insights into the rising risks of online gambling and her advocacy efforts for stronger regulation and increased whānau and cultural connection. Well, today's show is quite special because I'm actually joined by my tuakana, my oldest sister, Cath Healey. Kia ora, Cath, welcome.
Kia ora sis. Thank you for having me.
I've been really watching with interest, the gambling harm issue here in New Zealand. I just wanted to bring you in here to have a kōrero about this issue and hopefully provide some hope to whānau and people who are going through this. I know a lot about your background, but if you could tell the whānau listening just, a little bit about you, us growing up in Maraenui.
So, born and bred in Maraenui. Colourful, I suppose. A background personally, managed to get myself into all sorts of not so good places. You learn lots of different things, and we had a beautiful upbringing, and then some not so good parts. I think our mother, her faith and God definitely was really helpful, and our dad really taught us a lot about tikanga in his own way, about connecting with whānau, about connecting with nature. I believe that we could be self-sufficient and live off the land and die. So, thanks, Dad. We will flourish because he taught us well. So
for sure, I've seen those muscles that you bring in, and I am quite jealous every time I see you on Facebook showing those off.
Yeah. So what led me into this space really was a healing journey for me. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about trauma, addiction, mental health, and colonization. And I think that was the key forgiving and letting go part, was to understand what our father, our tipuna went through, and the loss and the grief that comes with colonization, and kind of how that process continues to this day. It just looks a bit different. I learned a lot about myself, and I believe growing up, we had a lot of brothers, and I think that was my role really, was to care for, to be a little bit of a mini mum and look after the babies coming through. So I've always loved people and had a kind heart and a loving heart, and going through studies allowed me to reconnect back to who I really was and get on this awesome pathway. It's an honour to support people in their dark places. I've been there. I know how challenging it can be. So it is such a blessing for me, sis. I'm so grateful to be able to sit here, talk with you today, and not only help people on the ground who are struggling with gambling issues, but also influence the policy space and raise our voices as Māori to initiate and hopefully activate change.
Now, Cath and I are, we're one of 7, each of us, and we are the only 2 wahine in our whānau. The rest are boys, and it was hectic, to say the least.
Yeah.
I remember it was made a big deal that I'd gone to uni and was, one of the first, I think, in our whānau to get a degree. But one thing I'm so damn proud of you for is for not just starting that journey yourself, but you're still going. I left the academic world and kind of just went off to go work and do my thing that way. But I know you've since achieved your master's and you're now currently working on your PhD. Can you tell us what exactly you're doing?
My whole world really for the last 10 years has revolved around gambling harm. So master's was a critical analysis of gambling policy. I've again been blessed to be a candidate at AUT through the Doctor of Health Science, and it's a practice doctorate. So it's a real pragmatic study that I'm involved in, and my our hope really is to connect with our communities, and hear their voices, look at our traditional ways of healing, use our culture as the conduit to achieve whole water and also to activate health equity policies, strategies. But it's going to be a grassroots initiative, of course, kaupapa Māori. But again, I'm at the very start of this journey, and it's just got to put one foot in front of the other.
And why gambling harm, sis? Like, I'm just thinking back when we were growing up, we saw and experienced a raft of socioeconomic and family issues that people can experience, but I don't recall gambling harm being something overt in our whānau. But so I'm just curious, why that interest?
Well, in all honesty, I really was given an opportunity to work here. I've been led here, and over the years, it's just become a hugely important issue. It's so hidden. Just people really don't see it. They don't understand how it works. It's really like this tentacle that runs through our communities. It's one of those things that has been normalized. We had cards, houses, the GGs, so these things are associated with fun for Māori. They are associated with funding opportunities for marae, kohanga reo. It's this whole interplay that has actually has had detrimental impacts for our hapari, and it's just a social justice issue. I mean, I'm a Christian, and for me, that's what it's all about, is going into battle for those who are pushed aside, for those who are oppressed. And for me, it's the passion to tautoko that drives me, and there's such a huge ethical, moral dilemma that needs to be contended to. Since the 1980s, with the introduction of the pokies, they basically saturated Aotearoa. We're talking like 40, nearly 30, 40, nearly 50 years onwards. This whole entrenchment of inequities it's just there. So for me, it's like this whole whakapapa of harm that comes through that just seems to keep perpetuating. And we've had a lot of beautiful wahine in the past who've done studies and doctorates and all these awesome kaupapa and initiatives, and we are still fighting the same battle. So there's this real sense of injustice, but a real motivation just to keep going, and to bring people to understand. And ideally, sis, we would get our governments and our policymakers, our whole leaders, to rethink our legislation, rethink the strategies that we have in place, and really put some stronger mechanisms in place, rather than expecting the individual to manage their harm, because that's currently how it works.
You've mentioned a few times now holder, and just for listeners who may not understand, so general health. So like you say, it's actually public health feeds into that. If you could talk a little bit about that as well, because you had this background, a really strong background in counselling. That's the support that people need, and the addictiveness, and the mental health aspects that come into, what drives people and keeps them stuck in these patterns. Can you talk to us a little bit about your background in counselling and how it works to support people in this space?
Yes, so initially I was employed at Te Rangihaeata Oranga as a counsellor, so working with our whānau, and really supporting them with their experience of gambling harm, whether it be the gambler or the whānau affected. So gambling is a lot like other addictions, but it has some nuances with it. Gambling harm, honestly, it impacts your entire world. There's often some coexisting mental health challenges, whether it's anxiety or depression. There's often other addiction issues too. It could be alcohol, methamphetamine. And one of the biggest things is is the financial harm. When we struggle financially, it never goes away. You go to sleep, you're thinking about it, you wake up, you're thinking about it, you see it. It impacts how you are able to raise your whānau, how you connect with other people. When we have financial struggles, it's just it's like a dripping tap that never really stops. And also with that, we people might do things that they wouldn't otherwise do, leads to fraud,
Yes.
crime, theft from families. It really, really impacts your whole well-being. It's an underrated harm when you peel back the layers, every aspect of your haora, of your well-being, of your whānau ora, even your community
Yeah.
communities. Really we help people to give them a safe space to come and talk about all these concerns and worries and struggles that they're going through. The system kind of enables gambling addiction. It enables this harm. It's the environment that kind of feeds this, and it's a environmental hazard.
Yes.
And so we try and move and shift the shame and blame off our people towards the industry, towards policies that don't serve us. That's a really important piece, because I think a lot of people do carry a lot of stigma
Yeah.
with gambling harm. It's quite normalized, so there's a whakapapa of a gambling harm. I went with my nanny to the pokies. So there's all of these things that come along with it. And when people connect with us, it's really a kōrero. It's about aroha, it's about mana, respect,
Mm-hmm.
and really just providing that space so that we can, again, just peel through the layers of what's happening, and is there some things that we can do that might help.
What you were saying about when you peel back the layers, it affects everything
Mm,
at every level. But, we've all had times where we've been a bit skint,
mm,
a bit low
yeah,
financially. And
yep,
I know that feeling. That
yep,
feeling is awful. And it
mm,
colours and taints your decision
everything.
making,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
It affects the breadth of decisions you can make
yep,
and the options available to you, and it's very constraining. So, for
yeah,
example, people might give up going to the doctor, so their physical
exactly.
holder suffers more, or
Yep,
their mental health suffers more.
yep,
So,
yep.
and on it goes.
100%. They might not be able to go to that birthday. They might
Mm.
not be able to do that family event that they wanted to do, or maybe their child is unable to go to the camp that they would have liked them to send them to. Chronic financial insecurity, it just eats away.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like
Yeah,
I've had the, let's be real, privilege of being able to find ways out,
yeah,
having avenues, and people available to me to
yeah,
support me.
yeah.
Yeah, it's quite heavy. And before we jumped on
Mm,
here, we were having a kōrero about online gambling in
mm,
particular. I'm on social and online all day, every day as part of my mahi. But I think everybody is, right? In this day and age, you're pretty much glued to your phone. And if you're not on your phone, you're on your laptop or your device, your tablet. Can you talk to us about what you guys are working on or are aware of in the online gambling space, and
yeah.
what we can do to support each other?
Currently, the government is in the process of putting forward a new regulation, which will be called the Online Casino Gambling Bill. We're due to see that come to effect, I think, mid this year. So the online gambling space is probably the most dangerous space for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but in particular our tamariki and our mokos, our rangatahi. The online world has really exploded, right? Over
Yeah.
the last 5-10 years, it's just normalized that people will have access to the world really in their pockets.
Yes.
And the gambling industry, they're no slouch. They've been
Mm.
capitalizing on that. Over the last kind of 5 years, it's really been raised to our attention here on the grass, working with people, that online gambling is becoming quite a significant cause of harm for our
Yes.
people. So the government is stepping in to regulate that. The bill that's proposed, it puts some mechanisms in place to ban offshore gambling, to make that illegal. The
Right.
government proposes they will regulate 15 New Zealand-based sites.
Are these existing or new? They'll introduce them new.
Well, this government has decided that they will auction to have 15 new sites. So we need the space regulated. It's due. They will be putting some gambling harm measures in place around exclusions, which means you can kind of block yourself from sites, and you can set some limits and things. So there's some very basic preventative strategies there. One of the concerning things for our whānau will be around our tamariki. They're going to see online gambling ads, so they're still going to be coming through your phone. They're
Right.
actually going to be coming through your TV as well, and through the radio waves. So this government has decided, under the premise of safety, they will be advertising their sites so everybody knows, go to these ones. So we have grave concerns around online gambling. There could be a lot stronger measures, but we live in a system. Our rules, our laws, our legislations really don't protect us as Māori. They don't protect our whānau. They don't protect our vulnerable communities. They operate outside of the whakapapa of colonisation. We have this line of Mumbai. So we already come into this space with maybe less resourcing, less
Yeah.
support. So
Mm.
for our whānau, it's so important that we are talking about the online world. We're really mindful of what our tamariki and our rangatahi are doing in the online space. We really need to protect them, especially our tamariki, because we really have influence. Like when they get to rangatahi, it's like, oh, sometimes you've lost them. They're already making decisions for themselves, so you can still support them and guide them. But when they're really young, it's really about checking. What's my child doing online? What games are they playing? There's a lot of gambling type features and things like Roblox. I have a little story about one of our nephews, and he was playing Super Mario, and
Mm.
with my daughter, with his kasi. So it was really
Yes.
cute. They're on the bed, and I thought, oh, that's really sweet. And then he goes, "Should we go play the pokies?" And I was like, ears prick up. I have a look over, and so in the Super Mario game, there's a room that you can go into where and where you go play the pokies. And of course, he's this beautiful, young, vibrant tama, and it was fun. It was like a fun thing to do as part of this
Yeah.
game. So it's just being really, really clear about that. And there's there are things that people can do to block things and have a look, but really just talking about that with your child, or even better, do what we used to happen to us: get outside.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I encourage it with my son heaps because,
Yeah,
he's on his device a lot, normally doing constructive things, but, we never know. He
yeah,
loves YouTube and he
yeah,
could very well be engaging in some game type gamification of what
exactly.
ends up becoming a bad habit later in
Yeah.
life.
It's just condition. It's normalizing something harmful as fun. It's very, very sneaky. It's
Mm.
and it happens with the socials, like the
Yeah.
scrolling. It's all these mechanisms, the endorphins. We love comfort, and sometimes it's just a bit of a downtime and time out. A really cool kaupapa that we have here is disconnect to reconnect. So we
Oh,
really
I love that.
yeah, we talk to our
Yeah.
people about disconnecting from anything that isn't serving them, anything that's causing them harm, or taking a lot of their time. So
Yes.
disconnect from your socials, disconnect from online gaming, disconnect from the online world, and reconnect to your whānau, reconnect to your whakapapa, reconnect to the whenua, and do those things that we used to love. I mean, I know, sis, pretty much in the evening or the afternoon, it was get outside, and we would go outside and we would kick the ball around and we would just be out there and feed on the grass. We spent a lot of
Yes,
time at the beach,
the
like,
beach,
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was beautiful. We didn't grow up in that world. If anyone wanted to get to me, they had to go through my father on the landline, so our kids
No one got through to me through my father and the landline.
so when we think about, like, we've also become kind of conditioned to the online world, the ease of access, information. So I think all of us in general, like, I think we've become a little complacent or desensitized to what
Yeah.
the access to the online world actually means for our tamariki.
Yes. Well, I mean, that what we were talking about before with the change in, the regulation of online gambling, it's such a veneer
Mm,
of positive support and change in the space,
mm,
not at all as advertised,
mm,
and I think that's one thing that we need to make clear to whānau, and I'm sure you
mm,
are in your mahi, that no matter what you're hearing about this particular upcoming change, you
mm.
guys have been advocating for more measures to support and
Yeah.
protect people, but
Yes.
at the end of the day, this looks very much like we just want to be able to manage this and
Yeah.
profit from it. Well, not profit from it, but be able to tax it, for example. Is that part of this as well?
Yes, the government will receive 12% of the tax,
Yeah.
all the gaming proceeds. 4% will be allocated to the Lotteries Commission for certain grants. When we look at that, our communities and our governments actually become reliant on gambling funds, and that also weakens robust measures.
I've always found that so problematic. It's become so entrenched. Go to Saturday rugby, sorry, in the morning, and there's teams sponsored by pub charity. No disrespect to pub charity, but
Yeah.
just saying, like it's so ingrained in how we do anything at a community level and how it's funded.
It's not a very equitable funding model. The rich profit from the poor, from our most vulnerable Māori, have had gambling harm inequities from the start, as well as Pacifica. Any minority group will be carrying that burden. And again, it comes back to that kind of neoliberal ideology around how things work. And where Māori, whānau is wealth. Like, whānau is our capital, not money. So it's like these two worlds collide, and they have collided for us for a long time. I feel like
Still are. I think
exactly.
if anything, the current, I know we did promise
That's right.
ourselves we weren't going to go too deep in the government thing, but that is the point, is that by design these systems entrench, these inequities.
Yeah.
And they are being maintained, and they're actually being, further entrenched currently, which is a scary place to be. Oh yeah, absolutely.
100%. And I think as Māori, we're so resilient, and we look forward, right? We look back and we look forward. So we look for the next generation. So we're used to weathering the storm. We know that this government's term will end. We know, you know what I mean? We are adaptable. We will transform whatever political flavour or environment is put forward to us if we keep coming back to ourselves, keep coming back to our own tikanga, kawa, te ao Māori, mātauranga Māori. If we keep coming back to that, we will be able to flourish in spite of all the barriers. We have to continue the fight. It's rangi nui walker, is it the battle never ends? Or there's and I feel kind of like that's what it is. I just keep coming back to our strengths in spite of all the hara that's put in our way. We just keep coming back to what's important, which is our whānau.
I was thinking in the back of my mind, or the putia and the plans to develop Māori business and Māori development in general, that the Queen is leading right now. Is it something you've investigated on behalf of whānau?
We haven't, but it would be a good idea. I mean, it's amazing. And yes, that's a good one. I think we should. And like, just to reflect too on the ground that we've made with the Waitangi Tribunal, Te Aka Whai Ora, they can put us out, but we're going to come back, you know. So we've had Te Aka Whai Ora. We had a beautiful space, a beautiful lane through that for Hauora. This contract that I'm working under right now is from Te Aka Whai Ora. So, you know, those things give me hope, and they also become stakes in the ground about what's possible for us and where we can go, so we never forget all those past wins, because those are the leverage points that we keep bringing back, so we know when we can go. We go back to Te Tiriti. That's our foundational document that will never die. It doesn't matter what the government says. It doesn't matter who's in control at that moment, because that is our founding document, and we will breathe life into that forever.
100%. I mean, it's not too much to ask for equity, is it? We're not asking for above and beyond. We're asking for equity.
And equity is the word, not equality. Equity. Yeah, there's some amazing literature out there around really the whakapapa of hauora and health inequities, and it really all comes back to our policies, our legislations, but it also comes back to the othering. So these deficit narratives are alive and well. They underpin our health inequities. So we just have to be really, really clear. This is the whakapapa of inequity. This is the whakapapa of gambling harm, and we just keep going. We just keep fighting, and there's lots of beautiful people out there doing amazing work that we'll never even hear of, and they're keeping their communities going. So we do what we do. We put our head down and our bum up, and we work really, really hard for our people.
Oh, awesome. Just to round things out, is there any particular story, a success story of a whānau who have been able to move away from this and go on to thrive? Yeah, what's a success story that you can and would like to share with us?
Yeah. Oh, mate, there's been so many success stories. I've worked with many whānau over the years, and a current whānau that I'm working with having some struggles with online gambling, and, you know, some ties really to that around wanting to support their children and actually seeing the chance or possibility of a win as a way to provide more, not just provide, to actually provide more for their whānau. So I think talking out loud, kind of looking at what was going on, what was the hook, the core was their children. They wanted more for their children. So the intention behind the gambling was actually one of aroha. It was one of wanting to have the best for their children. Once we were able to look at it and go, oh, wow, then it became really clear that even though the intention was a good one, the means to achieve that wasn't serving them, and it was actually causing more trouble. So that enlightenment and having a really good look at that was a really good motivator to change. And what they had decided almost naturally themselves was to start going for walks together, start a bit of a different nutrition plan, start getting outside more, disconnecting from their devices, you know, looking at maybe some advice or some mentorship around finances. So for me, that's a beautiful success story that was really led by them. I think we all know, like, we know what we need to be doing, and sometimes we just have someone in the corner that's like doing a bit of cheerleading and maybe providing a bit of accountability. People kind of can look at it different, and it breaks them out of that pattern. Again, there's a lot of shame attached with that, but once we crack it open and the light cracks through, right, it just changes the whole landscape. There's many stories, and it's really around watching our people disconnect once they realise they can and they want to disconnect, the te ao opens up to them. You know, the
Yes.
whole world will just open up to them. Just one last thing. When people have stopped, I've heard time and time again, even though there might be some big debts or some really big things happening, every day, every week, there's a bit more money in my pocket. This got paid. I feel better. You know, like it just snowballs. So a day away from gambling, a week away from gambling, 2 weeks, like it's the momentum builds, and they will say they just feel so good. You know, they just feel so good. They feel like a weight's been lifted off their shoulders.
So good. And it's just breaking that vicious cycle, feeding
Yeah,
that beast. I mean,
100%.
that's the thing with most gambling harm. I can empathize with people who end up in this space. It is a desire to not necessarily strike it rich, but just wanting to be able to provide for themselves because they're in a place where they're day to day. And I know,
Yes.
and some people are very judgmental around that, and that doesn't make sense. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, that's the point. Like, these
Yes.
are people that are desperate for change. You know, they want some hope that they can get a little more than what they've got,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And once we realize that the hope isn't in grabbing at financial things, it's whānau, it's
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
Yes, your bills need to get paid, which they will
Yes.
naturally if you're not, you're no longer in that space to put the money into a machine or online.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it can be quite a deep, dark hole. So it makes sense how people get trapped there. But hope is exactly right. There's a hope that this might make my life a bit easier. And we're talking about bread on the table. We're talking about just getting by. So that financial deprivation really eats away at everybody. And we're here to tautoko with that. We understand. We will come with huge aroha and manaki for our people because we understand, we get it. We don't know everything about everything. Of course, our people are the experts in their lives, but we come armed with resources, armed with some mātauranga around things that can help people, and really just an open door policy for anybody seeking advice, even just for a chat. You know, we help gamblers, but we also help their whānau. Come down, have a chat, and let's get some of that out so we can again crack some light into the situation and see what we can do together.
Well, awesome, sis.
Yeah.
So awesome to talk to you and to bring light and hope to this space.
Yes.
Couldn't think of a
Yes.
better person.
Oh, thank
So thank
you.
you for your time. Thank you very much.
Ngā
Ka kite.
Bye.
For more information about today's guest and the topic we discussed, check the description box for this episode. Join us again soon for more extraordinary stories from everyday people, shining the light of hope for others to follow.